By 1890, nearly 2 million children worked in U.S. factories. Almost half of them were girls. Some as young as 5. Cleaning needles, fixing spindles, crawling under machines. Their lungs filled with dust. Their fingers soaked in oil. Their names lost to death reports. And you were one of them. You wake before the sun, your breath visible in the air, the straw mattress beneath you damp and rustling. You were 10, maybe 11. Your mother lost count when your siblings began dying. The floor is cold, the boards cracked, and the only warmth in the room comes from the sleeping bodies of your sisters, curled like commas against the wall. You dress in silence, the cotton blouse already smelling of oil and the stale sweat from yesterday's shift. The boots you wear are too large, passed down from a brother who ran off or died. Nobody says which anymore. You slip out the door, the street still black with night, but already you see other figures like you. Thin, hunched children moving like ghosts down the muddy alleys of Lowell. You follow the path by instinct. No one talks. You all know where you're going. The factory gates swallow you whole before the clock strikes 6. The overseer's eyes scan the crowd not to greet, but to count, like livestock in a pen. He barks orders, but you already know them. You know your machine by feel. You know your position by muscle memory. You are a cog before the machine starts. The floor is vibrating even before the machines roar to life. The looms stretch like rows of iron soldiers, humming, clanking, waiting to shred your fingers if you slip. You take your place and tie back your hair with a scrap of string. No one cares if you cut it short, it's safer that way. You begin to feed the threads, one by one, your small hands quick, efficient, and always trembling. The noise rises with the sun. It's not sound anymore, it's weather. A storm made of gears and breath and screams trapped in steel. You do not speak because no one could hear you if you did. The overseer walks behind, tapping his stick against the wooden beams. You've seen what happens when he stops to correct someone. You've seen what the stick can do. Your fingers begin to bleed before the first break. The thread cuts deeper when you're tired, and you are always tired. You rub your hands against your apron, now streaked with crimson and oil. The air tastes like cotton and metal. You cough, but no one looks. Everyone coughs. It's part of the job. By 8 in the morning, you have lost the feeling in your legs from standing. By 10, your vision blurs, but your hands still move. By noon, the light from the windows is white and blind, and the heat from the machines makes you sweat through the back of your dress. You count the bells, the shifts, the threads. You count the hours like they are promises, and you stop when you remember they're not. You do not dream anymore, not since the first time you watched a girl's hand vanish inside the gears. She was 12. You remember her name, but you don't say it. You learn not to. Names are a luxury for people who don't live here. You live here. You endure here. You belong to the mill now. You eat standing. There is no table, no break room, no silence. The walls of the mill do not release you, even for a moment. Lunch means bread, sometimes stale, sometimes not, tucked in a rag and eaten by the machines. You chew quickly, always watching, always calculating the time by the creaks and groans of the looms. The older girls know how to lean while standing, how to rest without closing their eyes. You copy them. You learn fast. Those who don't, disappear. The air thickens as the day stretches on. Wind floats in it like snow made of itch and suffocation. You breathe it in, and you feel it coat your tongue, your throat, your lungs. You hear the stories of girls coughing blood in the winter, of blackened lungs, of doctors who said it was nerves. You hope they were lying. You hope there's a name for what's happening to you that doesn't end in a coffin. Sometimes, a gear slips. Sometimes, a thread tangles wrong and the rhythm of the loom is broken. The machines hate irregularities. The overseer hates them more. He doesn't raise his voice, he raises the stick. You flinch before it lands, even if it's not meant for you. You're learning that fear is contagious. It spreads faster than fire, and it never gets put out. But today, someone brings the music. Just for a second. A girl in the spinning section hums under her breath. It's barely more than vibration, drowned by metal, but you hear it, you catch it, and it stays with you like warmth, like rebellion, until she stops and the room forgets. Hours pass. You don't remember them as time, you remember them as wounds. A needle scratch, a slip of thread, a sharp ache in your spine from standing too long, a dull throb in your shoulder from reaching too high. Each pain becomes a marker, a measurement, a story you never get to tell. By 4, the sun leans through the factory windows like an old woman, tired, crooked, losing interest. You are dizzy. You think of water, but you don't ask. Water breaks are not for girls like you. You hold on to your place in the line. You hold on to the rhythm. You hold onto the small part of you that still believes this is temporary, that someday you'll leave this place, that someday you'll have a window of your own to look out from, not one barred by soot and humming iron. You tell yourself this as your hands bleed into the threads, as your back curls, as your neck cracks. You repeat it like prayer, not because you believe it, but because no one else will say it for you. You do not own a clock, but your body has learned its own measurement. The burn in your legs means you've been standing since before dawn. The ache behind your eyes means you've gone too long without blinking. The cold in your fingers, even in summer, means you've touched too much steel, too many times. Your breath comes in short bursts now, not because you're tired, but because you are not allowed to stop. You learn to take tiny breaths between motions, like a swimmer under ice. You used to dream at night. Now you hallucinate. The machines do not stop turning when you close your eyes. They follow you into sleep, into the crevices of your skull. You dream of twisted yarn, of belts snapping, of screaming you can't hear over the grinding of the gears. You wake up already working. You wake up already afraid. Today, the foreman replaces a girl on the line. No explanation, just a blank space where she was. Her spindle is still warm when you pass it. Her name is not mentioned. Her bag is not collected. You learn not to ask. Questions are heavy. They slow the line. You do not want to be next. You think of home, but home is not rest. Home is more work. Home is your mother's cough and your brother's hunger and the silence between all of it. There is no door that separates the factory from the street from the alley from your bed. It's all the same corridor of survival. You do not walk for life. You march. Then someone drops a spool. It clatters and rolls. You hear it like thunder. The entire room freezes for a breath, not out of concern, but calculation. If it rolled into the gears, the machine could jam. If it jammed, the line would stop. And if the line stopped, someone would pay. You breathe again only when a boy snatches it up before the damage is done. His hand is bleeding. No one thanks him. He walks off holding his palm like it's not his anymore. And you think, just for a second, that you are no longer human. You are a part, a cog, a tool that can eat and cry and grow hair, but a tool nonetheless. You watch your fingers moving and do not recognize them. You see the dirt under your nails and wonder if it's from the factory or from your childhood. If there's still a line between the two. Outside, the sky turns orange, then gray. You do not see it. You only know it by the change in shadow, by the way the light through the windows loses warmth. Someone whispers that the shift is nearly over. You do not believe her. Hope is a currency you cannot afford. The bell rings. Not for freedom, but transition. You are done for now. You do not celebrate. You collect your things. You file out. You avoid eye contact, because looking too long at another girl's face might remind you of your own. And what would you do with that? Your reflection, your truth, when all that is asked of you is silence and movement. You step into the street. The air is colder than you remember. You are 13, or maybe 12, or maybe it doesn't matter anymore. You walk home, though home is too generous a word. It is a room without floorboards, a stove that eats more coal than it gives heat, a shared wall with neighbors who cry behind newspapers and whisper names no longer spoken aloud. You do not knock. You do not pause. You step into the smell of cabbage and kerosene and the stale perfume of yesterday's fatigue. Your mother is there, seated on a crate that used to be a dresser, stitching the same hem she began 2 weeks ago. Her eyes have grown soft around the edges, like cloth left too long in the sun. She does not ask how your day went. She knows better. You nod toward your younger brother, whose sleeps curled near the stove, ribs rising in slow and even waves. You envy him that sleep. Dinner is what was left from someone else's dinner. A heel of bread, some water with salt, a smear of fat, if your mother worked fast enough at the bakery to steal a spoonful. You eat quickly, not because you're hungry, though you are, but because food disappears if not swallowed fast. Everything good in this life is on a timer. Later, you sit on your mattress, such as it is, and peel off your stockings. Your feet are raw. The skin between your toes is blistered. Your nails are turning dark. You learned long ago not to cry. Tears are a luxury of those who believe someone might come to help. You do not believe. There's a knock. Quiet, but sharp. You freeze. Night knocks do not bring good news. You wait. It comes again. Your mother opens the door with the kind of stillness that only terror can teach. A man in a worn coat hands her a paper. A new factory is opening 2 streets over. They need hands. Smaller ones. Faster ones. You are faster. You are 13. Barely. No one discusses it. There is no conversation. Only the rustle of cloth as your mother presses your uniform for the next morning. Only the hush of her voice as she says, without looking at you, that at least it's closer. That at least it's not the cannery. That at least. You lie back on your mattress and stare at the ceiling. The pane is cracked. The beams sag. You count them, not because they matter, but because numbers are stable, predictable, obedient. You want to be that. You want to be something that doesn't break. The light outside fades. Your mother hums something under her breath, some hymn she used to sing before the war took her brother, and the debt took her voice. You close your eyes, not to rest, but to prepare. Because morning comes fast in places like this, and it always asks for more than it gave. You wake not from sleep, but from its absence, your body remembering that rest is a concept, not a condition. The air is so cold your breath fogs above your face. You reach for your boots and wince before they touch your feet. Every morning begins with negotiation. What pain will you allow today? And what pain will you pretend does not exist? The street outside is still half asleep. Cobblestones slick with night frost. A cart creaks in the distance, horseshoes rhythmically dull against the stone. You clutch your coat tighter, though the lining has long since thinned to suggestion. There is a ritual to this walk. You count windows lit. You avoid the drain with the rat's nest. You do not look at the church. God doesn't work these hours. The new factory is smaller but no warmer. You were placed near a loom, your fingers responsible for threading the shuttles that race like metal birds. The overseer is younger than the last. He doesn't shout as much, but he watches everything. Eyes like coins, flat and personal, always calculating. He doesn't care that your hands are shaking. He cares only for numbers, for yards produced, for machines unjammed. By noon, your knuckles are cracked and bleeding. You wrap them in cloth torn from your hem. You cannot stop. One missed stitch means the whole sheet is ruined. Ruined sheets mean docked pay. Docked pay means someone in your building doesn't eat. The logic is brutal, but clear. There is a moment, a single, stolen breath, where a woman next to you passes you half an apple. It's bruised. It tastes like salvation. She doesn't speak. She simply nods, then turns back to her machine. This is how kindness works here. Wordless, brief, and never owed. You work until the bell, the metal clang that sounds less like freedom and more like survival's buzzer. Your back is bent in ways you didn't think possible. Your stomach burns with hunger and something sharper, resentment, maybe, or the knowledge that this is only day one. Outside, the snow has started. Tiny needles falling from a gray sky that promises nothing but endurance. You pull your collar up, step into the wind, and begin the walk back. Again, the same stones, the same silence. You wonder, not for the first time, how long your body will carry you like this. Whether there is a number of threads pulled, or blisters burst, or winners survived, after which the world decides you've done enough. But you know better. The world does not count in mercy. It counts in output. You are 12 years old, and you are already in debt to the future. You don't remember when your hair started thinning. It happened in whispers, first the strains on your pillow, then the gaps that widened under your fingers. By now, your scalp stings every time you sweat, and you sweat a lot, especially when the gears stick and the overseer watches. You try not to scratch. Blood stains the cloth. Blood gets in the thread. You know what happens to girls who miss their quota. No one says it out loud, but you've seen the way they disappeared, not fired, just gone. One day they're there, coughing and threading beside you. The next their cot is empty, their names scratched off the board, like they never existed. You try not to ask questions. Questions make you visible. There is a girl smaller than you by 2 years. Her name is Sarah, or maybe not. Names blur here, melt into each other like steam in the washing vats. She cries when the loom snaps thread. Quietly, mouth closed. You press a sugar pebble into her palm, one you've saved for 4 days. She doesn't thank you. She just holds it like a stone. You work across from a wall that drips condensation, even when there's no rain. The ceiling leaks too. You've learned which drops fall with rhythm and which ones lie. That's how long you've been here, long enough to map the language of water. Your fingers no longer feel anything below the second knuckle. They move out of habit, memory imprinted in nerve. When you sleep, you dream of them twitching, weaving fabric that never ends, even though your hands are no longer attached to your body. You've become the loom. Once, your mother said America was the place where clocks moved forward, not backward. She died coughing red into her apron, somewhere between 2 jobs. You tried to cry, but the shift bell rang and grief doesn't pay wages. The overseer's voice sharpens. He doesn't use names either. Just numbers. You are 14. You have become arithmetic. Easier to subtract when necessary. At the end of the shift, your legs buckle in the alley. A man in a hat lights a cigar and steps over you without looking. That's the first warmth you felt all day, the glow of someone else's fire as it passes by. You crawl to your feet. You walk home, if home is what you can call it. A mattress stuffed with straw and someone else's breath. A blanket that smells like kerosene. The girl with the sugar pebble sleeps beside you. Her eyes flutter, like she's dreaming of food or light or her mother's hands. You stare at the ceiling and wonder if the factory will still be there in the morning. You already know the answer. Buildings outlive bodies. Especially bodies like yours. You wake to the sound of coughing. Not yours this time. It comes from the corner, wet and sharp, like fabric tearing from the inside. Someone doesn't rise for the morning bell. No one moves to check. That's the rule. You dress in silence, pulling on stiff stockings and worn shoes, each with a hole that wasn't there last month. Or maybe it was. Holes spread quietly here. The air outside bites. Not with cold, but with soot, fine as flour and twice as suffocating. You pass the same brick wall with the chalk marks. Each one is a day. Someone's calendar. Or a countdown. You stopped counting. At the gate, the foreman doesn't look up. He waves you through with a gloved hand, already blackened at the fingertips. You've heard his laugh only once. It was during a fire drill, when a girl fainted into a vat. He said something about survival of the fittest. The fire was fake. The fear stayed real. Inside, the noise hits like it always does, a mechanical scream, endless and layered, devouring thought. You mouth a prayer, not for salvation, but for speed. For the machines to behave. For no snags, no slips, no screams. Today, you are reassigned to a faster low. It's older. Hungrier. You sense it from the way the threads tighten when you blink. The girl who used it yesterday isn't here today. No one says why. You just adjust your rhythm and get to work. Your arms cramp before the second hour. You can't stop. The counter ticks like a clock wired to your ribs. Each number is a breath. Each 100, a heartbeat. You tell yourself you'll make it to lunch. Then to the end of shift. Then just 5 more minutes. You measure your life in bread. At midday, the bread is moldy. You eat it anyway. Hunger has no dignity. The water is warm, metallic. You drink slowly to stretch the moment. Then back to the machine, where moments vanish. The accident happens in the 6th hour. Not to you. To the boy beside you. His hand vanishes between the rollers. There's no scream, only the thud of a body hitting the floor and the silence that follows. Not real silence, just the pause in thought, the flicker of terror. A supervisor appears. Not with a medic. With a broom. The floor is cleaned. The machine rethreaded. The boy's name is not mentioned again. You wonder how many times this has happened. You wonder if you will be remembered. You doubt it. By the final hour, your feet bleed inside your shoes. You don't tell anyone. You've learned that pain is private currency here. You hoard it, because it's the only thing that's still yours. The sun is gone when you leave. You don't remember it rising. You walk home in the dark, past men with papers and dogs that don't bark. At the corner, someone sings a hymn in a cracked voice. You don't know the words, but the melody sticks. It follows you down the alley, into the room, into your dreams, where machines chase you, and blood stains the gears, and your hands still move, even after you wake. You stop recognizing the face in the mirror. It isn't that your features have changed dramatically, but the life behind them has receded like light leaving a room. Your cheeks are hollow from months of rationed meals, your eyes too dull to reflect the window behind you. The child who once flinched at shadows has become a figure with no edges, smoothed out by repetition, bruised into sameness. You forget your name one morning and answer to a number. It's stitched to your apron and pinned above your sleeping mat, and when someone shouts it across the line, you flinch like it's always belonged to you. The syllables of your birth, once whispered by your mother, have no place here, too soft, too full of hope. You try to remember them later, but your tongue refuses to cooperate. You no longer feel the seasons shift. The walls of the factory are always damp. Summer heat or winter frost don't reach you through the clamor of steam and metal. You work through snow, through thunder, through the suffocating stink of early spring. Your skin doesn't remember sun. Your nose doesn't remember flowers. All days are smoke and soot and the raw tang of oil. You stop expecting letters. You used to imagine your mother's handwriting curved, neat, wrapped around stories of home. But now the idea of home feels ridiculous, like a word in a language you used to speak but no longer understand. You don't know if your family remembers you or pretends they never sent you here. Maybe both. You realize, suddenly and without ceremony, that this is it. There is no next step, no promotion, no return, no miracle, no kind man to marry you, no chance to study, no day off that stretches beyond a few hours of sleep. Your lungs won't get better. Your hands won't recover their grip. You are not waiting for change. You are surviving delay. You are the oldest girl on your shift now. Not in age, maybe. Others come in already weathered. But in tenure, the others look at you like you're a fixture, reliable, predictable, silent. You used to envy the ones who left. Now you don't feel anything at all. They disappear. You remain. You forget to rush one morning. The whistle blows and you're not ready. You walk slowly, deliberately, and no one yells. Maybe they've given up on making you run. Maybe they know you'll get there eventually, and that it doesn't matter how fast you move. It's not like anyone's keeping score anymore. The urgency is gone. You vanish. Not physically, not suddenly. But the thing that made you different, the thread that connected you to before, is gone. There's no ceremony to mark the loss. No pause, no gasp. Just another day, another seam, another wheel turning. You are dead. You're used up. And there's no name for that. By the end of the 19th century, over 1.5 million children were employed in American industry. More than half of them were under the age of 14. The youngest were 6. In textile mills across New England and the South, little girls worked 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, inhaling cotton dust and grease, their fingers swollen, their backs warped, their lungs scarred. 1 in 10 did not survive to adulthood. Those who did often carried the damage with them: bent spines, lost fingers, nervous disorders, infertility, silence. The pay was a fraction of a man's wage. The food, barely enough. The housing, overcrowded and rotting. Most never learned to read. Most never had another option. Their names are missing from most records. Their faces were rarely photographed unless by reformers or crusaders. But they existed, and the machines they fed still turn in museums. Their labor clothed the nation. Their bones build a century. You don't remember their names, but you wear what they made. To those who follow, don't mistake survival for justice. Don't confuse silence with peace. Don't believe comfort was always free. Someone, somewhere, paid for it with childhoods that never returned.